All right, it's about that time. Now we're going to talk about Pokemon Presents because we've got a Pokemon Present coming up on the 27th, and I got a couple of things that I've been wanting to see out of the Pokemon Company, and I've got reason to believe that this event might be the biggest one yet. If y'all haven't seen it already, we've got a Pokemon Presents coming up on the 27th. We also have Pokemon Company doing like kind of a little limited event where they showcase the Pokemon Presents, which in my opinion, I've never really seen before. So this seems like a very big deal, and I'm hoping to see a new announcement. You know, it's about that time where every year we get a new Pokemon game, and a lot of people are for some reason pointing towards the Gen 5 remakes that should be occurring in this new game. I think there were some hints left over in Scarlet and Violet that hinted towards us moving back into Gen 5, and I kind of expect this because Gen 5 was so impactful, but yet it wasn't the most desired game. Game Freak really did try in that era, and it was definitely an era of gaming that touched me personally. Gen 5 was the first Pokemon game that I started off with, and then it made me go back to the earlier games. But that's really what everyone started off in, at least in my time, especially when I was in like middle school. So I have a big heart for Gen 5 right now. I'd really like to see them do, you know, this game in a different style, maybe comparable to that of X and Y. Whenever they had their models, they just upscale it and build it in the plane that they had it there. Because, you know, I think X and Y really had it going with its first leap into, you know, 3D Pokemon. I just think that at the time, the 3DS wasn't that powerful. So obviously things were scaled back, frame rates were a little rough at times, and of course the character models didn't look as good as they were, you know, compared to today's character models, which still need a little bit of work, but they have enhanced power with Nintendo Switch. I would also like to see them try and touch up things. I think they did a really good job with the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I think that was probably the perfect remake that they could have ever done, just because of the fact that they created this environment that's more known. The character models look great. They also put in, you know, some of the homages to the original system, but they also added new things in, like flying on Latios and Latias, and obviously we had Mega Evolution, which is something that I'm gonna push for. A lot of people don't like the idea of Mega Evolution coming back, at least the people that I've spoken to, but I think Mega Evolution would be great. I would love to see it return. I would love to see it come back and hopefully see some really cool forms come out for, you know, Mega Evolution in Gen 5, but I know that that's very unlikely considering that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company haven't touched that with a stick in a very long time. That's really all I gotta say about Unova though. I really want to talk about some other games that I wanted to speak on, you know, specifically Pokemon Rumble series. I love Rumble Blast on the 3DS. That was my childhood. That was one of the first games that I had to play. I remember being in the GameStop store picking between Mario 3D Land and Pokemon Rumble Blast. Two goated games that I eventually getting both of them later on in the future, but I really just love the toy aspect of Pokemon Rumble Blast and being able to control and take control of the Pokemon themselves and run around and just go willy-nilly, just lose your brain in the endless activities that popped up on screen, such as just fighting or doing the little rumble battles they had, or even the somewhat decent story that Pokemon Rumble Blast did have as well. I know that they flopped with Pokemon Rumble U. It really wasn't what we expected out of the Pokemon toy franchise, and I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't have done that because they really trashed my beloved series, but hopefully they can recover with that and make a new Pokemon Rumble game, because that was just one of my most favorited titles of all time, and I would love to see them add that with the more up-to-date Pokemon and maybe even a unique story, not something that's like a boss rush phenomenon that's going to be left for a pay-to-win scandal, kind of how like they did with Pokemon World, which was still a decent experience if you had the money or the time to play it. And last but not least, we have to talk kind of like about Virtual Console, because that's going to be a big hitter. I know a lot of people are pushing to see more of the older titles come back, you know, on the Game Boy Color and on the GBA, but this is where I'm hoping that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company kind of bring out the big guns. I know it's extremely unlikely due to the hardware that we're playing it on, but I would really love to have Nintendo DS capability built into Nintendo Switch Online. Obviously, this would be a part of their Nintendo expansion plus expansion pack, whatever you want to call it, their online plus expansion pack, But I think that if they were to add the DS, that would create a resurgence of a crap ton of players joining their online system. I know I would personally join it, and I would enjoy playing some of their older titles, you know, like maybe the original Pokemon Black and White for DS on the actual emulator itself. I mean, the Nintendo Switch does have a touchscreen. I know it's not going to look the prettiest, and this is probably never going to happen, but I'm aiming really big here because Pokemon Company has been pretty quiet in terms of their intentions for the upcoming year. I mean, it seems like Scarlet and Violet's information has been paused. The only real big event that we had, at least the one that I can remember, was their event when it came to the Mew and Mewtwo in their last Pokemon Presents, and that was a somewhat decent event that gained traction, but I'm just still waiting to see what more they have to offer, and I think that they can deliver some heavy hitters and hopefully give us an experience worth pushing for. And think about it, we've had about 3 games where the entire concept has shifted. You know, we had Legends Arceus, which I consider a mainline game. We had, you know, Sword and Shield, which took it on in their own region with their own Dynamax feature mechanic, and then we kind of had Scarlet and Violet there, which had their own region, their own DLC pathways, and of course their own mechanics there as well with crystallization. So I think it's about time that Game Freak takes another step back and really pulls the lever on things and just takes us back a little bit. I think a lot of people at Game Freak understood the nostalgic feeling of Pokemon fans when they released Pokemon Legends Arceus, and hopefully if it's anything like, you know, Pokemon Legends Arceus, we get another game built off of that exact platform, because Legends Arceus alone was probably the most fun Pokemon game that I played in a long time, because it just gave so much freedom and creativity to enjoy. It was really something that I went through, and it's probably one of the first Pokemon games that I beat and then went back through to play continuously just because of how seamless the game was. So hopefully we can see more of that type of style implemented in future games, but I really think it's unlikely if they're going to be doing a remake of Black and White. Ultimately though, I know I'm asking a lot from the Pokemon Company. I really just want this next game, whatever entry that they push onto the Nintendo Switch, to have better performance. Hopefully the developers have looked into the issues of what they've had, and they've taken Scarlet and Violet to lay the groundwork for what's to come, for hopefully a new experience that has better performance and has a great user interactivity when it comes to actually playing the game itself. But I would love to know what you guys and gals think about this Pokemon Presents. What do you think's gonna happen? Are you excited? Do you have any big guesses? Do you think Univa's gonna come, or do you think it's not gonna come and they're gonna release a whole new series? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And as usual, if you like this video and you want to see more, hit that like and the subscribe button, and don't forget to check that notification bell for more videos so we can stay updated. But without further ado, thank you all for watching, and peace out.